Whew. Hey,
Hey,
how are you?
all right, you? I don't
I'm
have a
good.
filter on, so I probably look crazy.
No, you look great. Let's see, just one second here. I've had a time today.
It's okay, I've been running all around.
Well, all right. Hey, everybody, I am Sandra. I am Hope's mom. Most people know me as Hope's mom. In 2016, I lost my beautiful daughter, Hope, to an accidental overdose, and that loss shattered me, but it also became the fire that fuels my mission today. I've dedicated my life to overdose awareness and fentanyl poisoning prevention because no parent should have to live what I've lived, and no child should have to die this way. I'm also the author of Unextinguished Hope's Legacy, a book that carries my daughter's light forward and reminds the world that her story and the stories of so many others still matter, and that's why I started this new series. Today I have the privilege of sharing the story of another incredible mother, a woman who knows the same depth of loss and the same determination to make sure no other family has to feel it. She's a mom of 8, 5 born from her heart, and 3 bonus babies who completed her family. In just a year and a half, she and her husband lost 4 loved ones. And when their daughter Kaylee passed, it nearly broke them. But instead of letting grief take them under, they prayed for a reason to keep going, and God handed them one. 2 weeks after losing Kaylee, they attended a rally that changed everything. They realized how little people truly understood about fentanyl and overdose, and they decided to change that. 2 weeks later, they discovered the Save a Life Station project, and from there, they built a movement rooted in love, faith, and action. They've since hosted community events celebrating Kaylee's life, placing multiple Save a Life stations across Kansas and Missouri, and leading the charge to make real change happen. Please help me welcome this extraordinary mom, advocate, and change maker who's keeping her daughter Kaylee's legacy alive in the most powerful way.
Thank
And
you.
let's start off about telling me about Kaylee. Tell us a little bit about who she is, what makes her light shine so bright, and what you most want people to remember about her.
Kaylee is light and love and joy and a horrible dancer and a great big sister, and she wanted to save the world and help the world. Um, she wanted to be a nurse when she grew up, and she was a grown up, but she wasn't ready to be a grown up yet. And so she wanted to be a nurse when she was ready to do all that. And I think that the thing I want people to remember most is she wasn't her addiction and she wasn't her mental illnesses. Um, and she was a daughter and a big sister and a little sister and a best friend and just a kind-hearted person that really, truly, and deeply cared about people.
And you feel the way that I do. Addiction does not define us.
No.
It does not. It is only one chapter in the story of our life. Um, I've had that same issue with my daughter, and the stigma, and I know that that's something that really you really fight for. But you said that losing her was the last straw, and that you and your husband prayed for a reason to get out of here. What do you remember about that prayer?
My husband and I were getting up and we were going through the motions. You know, we have other kids at home. And we were getting up out of bed and he was going to work as much as he could. And we were cleaning the kids and cooking and barely cleaning the house and barely being alive. It felt
Barely breathing.
Yes, but we didn't want the kids to see that because they had such heavy hearts already. So they needed to see us have it together. And so one night we couldn't get out of bed. And we just prayed, God, give us a reason. We know that this wasn't your will and you didn't plan to take her. But what do we do with this pain? And how do we help other people? Give us a reason to get out of bed, because being a mom to the other kids, that's enough to get us out of bed, but it wasn't enough to bring us back to who we were. As you know, losing a kid it takes you down to the darkest depths of your soul, and it just makes you, not sure if you want to be here anymore. It takes you to a very, very dark place. And so we were afraid of that feeling and we prayed to get out of that feeling. And God answered that prayer, not the way we thought. This surely was not what we thought was going to happen, but this is what he chose, and we go where he leads.
Absolutely. I so know that feeling. I was paralyzed. I was absolutely paralyzed. It's so shocking. Um, it still is. For me, it's and every day I still struggle. Uh, I did hope she was the sole survivor of triplets, and had lost one other one after her. She was my only living child, and I did not have uh, that responsibility like you did to have other children that you had to still keep going for and living for. And just take us back to that rally 2 weeks after losing Kaylee. What was that moment like for you?
We didn't want to go. We were, surely this is not for us. This is too soon. We planned to find reasons to get out of going. That whole week, we were trying to we've got so many things to do. We always have 100 errands to run because we have so many kids, and that was our excuse. We can't go because we have things to do. And that morning we woke up and we had all the kids. The kids were excited to go, and then I thought, is a rally a safe place for kids? Am I doing the right thing? And so I called some people that were going, and they said, yeah, it's very tight knit. It's not going to be crazy. You know, it's a small community. It's not what you think. When you think of rally, you think of burning torches and pitchforks and craziness. And that's not at all what it was. Um, and we heard bereaved parents speak. And I looked around in the crowd, and there was such a community. And in that community, I saw one of my friends that I grew up with. Um, and she lost her daughter to fentanyl. And like right before we lost ours, and we didn't know we were going to be there, and she almost didn't go either. And so I was like, well, God put us here for a reason. So now what do we do, Mama? What do we do? And my husband said, I want to do this in Topeka. I think we can do this in Topeka, and I think it's going to be meaningful because we're in the capital of Kansas. We can go right up on the stairs, and we can bring awareness and education to a town that is riddled with addiction and unsheltered community and stigmas that people just look down their noses at people that need help. And so I said, okay, if you want to do it, let's do it. And we did shortly after, and it was amazing. We didn't think anybody would show up, and it wasn't a big event. It wasn't huge by any means, maybe 50 at the most, 30 probably if I'm being realistic, counting my kids.
Yeah.
But it was pretty amazing. It was very, very educational. We had the KBI come, the DEA come, and they spoke. We had House Representative Pat Proctor of Leavenworth and Kickapoo come, and I met him at that rally that we went to in Leavenworth, and he said, he saw me crying, and he said, he walked up to me and my husband, and he said, did you lose someone? And we said, we lost 4. We lost our daughter, and that was the last straw for us. Like, that is the last straw. And he said, well, we're going to make a change. And I said, oh, a politician that cares, because, you know, I'm a sarcastic person. And he's like, yeah, I actually do. And I said, okay, well, you met the right mom, because I will not sit down. I will not. And I will harass you until we get the things done that we need done in the nicest way. And he gave me his personal cell phone number. Yeah. He gave me his personal cell phone number and his wife's cell phone number just in case I couldn't get a hold of him. And we just developed a close friendship from there. It was really amazing, actually.
That's great. The first thing that I did, now I floundered around for a couple years. I had no clue what to do with it. And I found Shatterproof. And I I just looked at everything that they had to offer, and I became an ambassador for them. But we did a 5K down in Atlanta. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. So we went down there and did a 5K, and I created Hope's Hope because on her 21st birthday, she said that it was her hope to continue her education and to help at-risk youth avoid the suffering from addiction like she did. And that was almost 3 years. I can't imagine doing that at 2 weeks. I mean, that is so commendable.
We just couldn't sit down, it felt like, because we were drowning in grief.
Absolutely. One thing that I noticed when I was there, is as I passed by people, if there was a group of them, I could tell by the eyes which ones were the parents and which ones were friends or siblings. And it's just a knowing when you get with these other people, and it's really a blessing. And um, so what? So you 2 weeks after the rally, you decided to found the Save a Life station.
Yeah.
Was it an online thing?
Well, I was sitting there after we did this rally. We were pumped. We knew that there's a whole community that actually cares about these people and our kids and our friends, and parents that have been lost. And it was great to see that. And so I was I was scrolling on TikTok. When I get down in my grief, I watch silly dances.
I do dogs.
Yeah, anything hilarious has to pull me out of it. So, I prayed, and then I'm like, you know what? We need something immediate. I need immediate, satisfaction right now. So I'll start scrolling and I'll watch silly dance videos and things like that. And then somehow my For You page turned into this, how our phones hear everything we say. It turned into harm reduction. And I was like, well, what on earth? And yeah, and so then I start scrolling more, and then I come across Michigan Alliance of Coalition, and they have a Save a Life station. And I'm like, what's a Save a Life station? And so you go down the rabbit hole as one does. And I saw what it was, and it's a no barrier harm reduction station that has fentanyl test strips, and it has naloxone, and it's accessible 24 hours a day because it's outside. And there's no one to ask for these things. You don't have to ask. You don't have to give your information. You just go and you take what you need. And to me, that's so important, because when I've been sober for 12 years, and in my darkest hour of addiction, there's no way I would have been too embarrassed to ask for something, even if I thought it would keep me alive. I would have been too scared. And so I thought, well, this is crazy. This is amazing. And so I messaged them and I commented on every one of their videos on TikTok, because nobody was messaging me back. And so then I was like, please message me back.
Squeaky wheel.
Yeah, I said, please message me back. I feel like I'm stalking you, and I promise that's not what I'm trying to do. I just want to know how I can do this here. And so then I found an email, which I don't, your brain gets holes in it when you're in grief. You don't remember normal things to do. And so I thought, well, why aren't you looking for an email? And then I was like, here's the email. And so I emailed, and then I got a phone. I put my phone number, and then I got a phone call, and the guy's name was Steve, and he said, Amber, I thought I messaged you. I'm so glad you emailed me, because I saw all your comments and I want to help you. And I was like, oh, thank the Lord. And he said, I'm going to donate the first Save a Life station to you. There is nothing like it in Kansas. You don't have vending machines. You don't have anything like this. But I think you're the one to get it done. And I said, well, that's a heavy cross to carry, but I'll take it. And he sent it to me, and it was full of naloxone, and you know how expensive that is. It was full of test strips. It was full of information on how to spot an overdose. It was an interactive box that you could scan a QR code, and it showed you how to use the naloxone and why you need to use it. It came with test strips for xylazine and fentanyl, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. It took me 6 months to get my community to accept it. 6 months. And
Gosh.
on that 6 months, well, it was the 6 month anniversary of Kaylee's passing. And that same day, we had court for the Good Samaritan overdose law. And I was giving testimony. And so I was like, you know what? I need a win just in case that's a lose. I have to have a win. So I'm going to go to this store and I'm not going to leave until they say yes. And so I went and I talked to the owner and he said, well, you say you're faith-based. You say you believe in Christ, but why are you not putting scripture in there? And I said, you know what? Because I didn't think of that, but I think that's perfect. And so the stations that we place, we put naloxone, fentanyl test strips, we put scripture, and we put information where people can get help with substance use disorder and their mental health at free or no cost. I mean, free or low cost. That is in the area that we place those stations. We also put information on how naloxone is good for 30 years past that expiration date. It loses like 1% of its potency, but it's better to use than to throw away.
Right.
And then we put the Texas Pictures documentaries because those stories are going to impact someone. And we put all of these things in a baggie and we put them in our Save Life station. And once we got that one placed, it kind of made us on fire for this, you know. And I met another mom who lost her son in November, and here it was just a few months later. It was maybe April. It had to have been April because, or no, it was February. And she said that she wanted to help me do this. She said, I think we can get this done. And I said, it's so hard. No one wants them. And if they tell me they don't want that traffic. But if you see me, you have that traffic because I do my research. I'm not just showing up willy-nilly, putting them wherever. I'm doing research. I'm following heat maps. I'm watching the community before it's placed. And, you know, I want to make sure they're going to be in places where it's going to help people the most. And so she jumped on board and helped me. And it's amazing. We've gotten so many places. I think we have 5 in Manhattan. We're getting ready to place 1 in St. George. We have 1 in Kansas City, Missouri. Getting ready to place another one. We have 1 in Wyandotte County, Kansas. And we have 6 here in Topeka. We're getting ready to place 6 more by the end of the year.
What does a station look like?
Ours now, since we had the one, they're so expensive to buy these porch boxes, and they don't come with anything in them. And so we use the old newspaper stands, the old newspaper vending machines, and then we paint them purple because we want you to see purple and know that it's opioid overdose, stuff that will help you in case you're experiencing that or your friends. And we put on ours, we put QR codes that you can scan to show you how to test your drugs and to show you how to spot an overdose and what to do in that situation. And we put information on like the Good Samaritan law and things like that. So you know you're safe to call 911. Don't leave someone alone. We put that never use alone number. And we put our information on the outsides of it. And in memory of Kaylee, you know, our daughter, and we put Monica, Max's sister. We put David, that's our grandson that we adopted's dad. We put Cassie, and that's Max, my husband's cousin. And then we put Tanner, who is the T in TK, because I just love his mom. She's the one that helps me whenever I can't place a station. She can always find someone to listen to her. And so, and then we put in also in memory of those we've lost to fentanyl and those still struggling. So we
Gosh,
don't
I'd
leave
love for you
anyone
to
out.
send me information on that because I know we don't have anything here in Asheville. And I would love to.
Get that going. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I really
Yeah.
would.
And so we had to become a nonprofit because naloxone is about $380 for 12 boxes.
Mhm.
And that's cheap. You know, that price has came way down. And so, we had to become a nonprofit and apply for grants to be able to buy the naloxone because there's no reason people should have to pay for a life-saving tool. That there is no reason.
And
And
I started Samantha Hope's Hope in 2021, or nonprofit, and uh, three of her childhood friends and their mother, along with my goddaughter and my best friend, we are the nonprofit. Um, so I know that, and these girls that grew up with Hope, I mean, they're like on fire. You know, they loved her, they love her so much, and want to help in any way they can, and that just sounds like a really fabulous thing to get going here. So, yeah, definitely send me information on
yeah, I'll send you what we have going. And then
that. Mm-hmm.
so since we've placed ours, DECA is a nonprofit here. They're a really big nonprofit that helps. They're like the biggest distributor of naloxone for free in
Okay.
Kansas. I think also Nebraska. I'm not 100% sure about the other states that they're in, but I know Kansas because I'm here. Um, but they placed vending machines, and then I've seen then I got a message from a guy that is the Carpenters Union here, and he donated ones that look like blessing boxes to us.
Cool.
And so some of ours look like blessing boxes, and they're painted purple, and they just look like a little purple house. And they have all that information in it and on it. And then we've met another woman has bought old Pepsi vending machines and
Mhm.
turned them into temperature control because a lot of people are really hung up on this temperature control, right? Because the box says it's no good if it gets too hot, it's no good if it gets too cold. Well,
Right.
if it gets frozen, you can defrost it quickly in your armpit,
Sure.
but those are minutes and you need those minutes immediately. So that's why you don't want it to freeze. And if it gets too hot, it's going to lose some of its potency, but it's
Hmm.
still better to use it than to not use it, you know? So,
Definitely. Well, you mentioned the Good Samaritan law, and we have that here in North Carolina, but that's exactly what happened to my daughter. Um, Her boyfriend that was with her, um, he actually administered the shot, and when he saw that she was overdosing, he left. He just left her there.
I'm so
I was literally in the next room. He could have opened the door and said, "Sandra Hope's in trouble," but he crawled out the window.
I'm so sorry.
It was
That's
so. They're all so preventable, but that was just. I mean, and he took her clothes and her shoes and all. I mean, just took all this stuff and went and dumped it in the river. And I'm like, man. And then come to find out, he had a warrant for a probation violation, but they would have done nothing to him. They would have done nothing to him at all. Um, I mean, and all he had to do was say she's in trouble, and I've got a warrant, and I would have said get out of here, and I'll handle it. You know, it could have gone so many different ways, but it didn't. Um, and I think that is just every state should have that, period. Absolutely.
I
And
agree.
um, I just think that's incredible that you were able to get that law passed in Kansas. Um, was Kaylee in a situation where that could have made a difference for her?
Kaylee, she had been dumped in an alley before and by her friends. Um, and she had been told, go outside, you don't look right. Um, Things like that whenever she was overdosing because she's overdosed several times. Um, and this last time, she was at her uncle's house and she went to the bathroom and she was in there a little bit too long. And so her cousin's girlfriend went to check on her and she was gone. Um, and they called an ambulance and the ambulance came, and they brought her back, but only stable,
Mm-hmm.
and got her into the hospital. And we had her comatose basically, for 8 days. Um, it was really hard to admit that she wasn't coming home. Yeah, so
I've been in my feelings here, but
yeah, yeah. I know I've started therapy with and doing the EMDR therapy where
oh,
they try to trick your brain into remembering it, but remembering it in a different way. Um, I recommend that therapy to every grieving mom because I know my daughter's gone and I know she was hooked up to machines and I remember what that felt like bathing her every day and brushing her teeth and brushing her hair and changing her clothes and making sure that if she, in my head, when she woke up, um, she wasn't there looking ratchet because she would have been mad. I had to make sure she had her lip gloss on because without that, she didn't think she was anything. She said lip gloss just made her feel good about herself. And so I had to
right.
make sure she had that shiny lips. Um, and I just, I had met uh, so many other parents, like my friend Christy and BJ Davis. Their daughter Cheyenne was diabetic and she struggled with addiction and had just had a baby, and they left her, OD'd, and didn't do anything at all to help her. They found her later, and I've met so many other people that same situation, and that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair to them. That's not fair to their family. That's not fair to their mom and dad and siblings. And I thought, why on earth are we one of two states without this law? And how the hell do we change it? You
Right.
know, and my mom always told me, you can make a change, but you got to get big and you got to get loud and you got to do it in a positive way or no one's going to hear you. You can't rage out or crash out the way you want to. You have to do it in the way they want you to. You plant that seed and you
Right.
make it their idea, just like you do when you want the yard mowed with your husband. You plant the seed and it becomes their idea because you're watering and nurturing. And then they're like, you know what? I got a great idea. We need a Good Samaritan overdose law in Kansas. And I'm like, you know what? That's wonderful. We do. And how about I give testimony and find a bunch of other parents that will? And
That,
so we did. And we
do,
got that.
do you know, is there any way to tell um, how many lives have been saved by the law being passed?
I don't know. I don't know. I wish there was, but just like the Save a Life stations,
I
people
guess
ask
it's all
me.
anonymity anyway, so it wouldn't be like something they would advertise.
Yeah. Well, everyone asks, like, how do you know you're helping? Well, I don't. I don't. And how do you know? Have you seen anybody or have you heard of anything, anyone that you've helped? And I just tell them it's not for me to know. And when it is, I will.
Mm,
I will know that we've helped someone, but I know that I'm doing what I was called to do, and that's all I can do. And so I just pray about it. And then I did get a message from a mom one day, and she said, my son overdosed. And all I could think was, there's a purple box a couple blocks from my house. And I went, and I used the naloxone out of that, and my son's okay. And then I went back because I know he's at a higher risk of overdose now. And so I went back, and there was one more. And I feel like that one more was for me. And I know that you fill them on Fridays, so I knew it was okay to take. And when I took it, I had it at the house. And a few days later, my daughter was getting ready to leave. And she went into the bathroom, and my son had overdosed in the bathroom. And my 12-year-old daughter brought him back with that naloxone from your station. And I just bawled my eyes out. And I often say it's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming doing the work that we do and being in the community and hearing the stories, especially if you're empathetic or, it's heavy. It's so heavy to hear all of the things and to feel all of the things. And that was kind of like, here's your little spark of hope. Keep
right,
going.
right. Uh, Personally, I have administered naloxone 7 times. And I used to say, if I can just save one life, that will be worth it. But it's not enough. I realize that it's just not enough, and that it's not like you can't just do one and quit. You know, just and so I just kept trudging on and trudging on and trudging on, and I've just done. I keep Hope's pictures out there. I keep her story out there, and 8 years later, I'm sitting here and I'm like, how did this happen to her? This athlete, this, vibrant, hyper intelligent young lady, how did this happen? And I sat and I just went back through everything. I went back through her hospital records. I went through her arrest records. I went through everything, all the way back to, just about the time she was born. And when I put it all together, it was just so heartbreaking that she was failed at like every turn by the judicial system, the mental health system. She got into a fight at school when she was 15, and I mean, this girl got her down and kicked her ribs, and this she had a huge black eye, punk knot, concussion, and I took her to the hospital and they prescribed her opioids, and I had no idea. And her first overdose was a matter of weeks later. I didn't I feel horrible that I didn't know enough about prescription medication and the genetics of addiction to know that she was at risk for that. But the thing that's horrible is that her dad and I separated when she was 4, and we had her in counseling that whole time. When she overdosed, and had her next appointment, her counselor of 12 years discharged her as a patient. And it was like there went her lifeline. So I've just spent the last year, and I've written a book completely about it. It's not really Hope's life story, because there's so much more to her life, but it's what to look for, what to look for, and don't put your head in the sand if you see it. But people have to realize that this is so prevalent right now, and that's why we do what we do. She was 22 as well, her whole life ahead of her, just like Kaylee. And she had battled with addiction active addiction for 4 years. It was terrible. But I didn't know anything about Narcan, naloxone. I didn't know about any of that, and that's why it's so important for us to do what we do.
I always
hope that somebody gets something out of it.
yeah, I always tell people you don't know anything about these things until you know too much about these things. So please let me tell you, please listen to what I have to say, because I've lived it. You shouldn't have to. Here's what you look for. I don't want you to do what I have to do in order to get out of bed.
And those were actually Hope's words. She said, "Mom, why should anyone else have to suffer like I have? I've already faced the monster. I know what to tell them. I know how to help them. Why should anybody else have to suffer?" But she didn't get that chance, so I am her voice. But your nonprofit's mission is to show the love of Jesus to those who feel unloved and connect people to the help they need. How has your faith carried you?
Well, I think that when you lose a kid, you're mad. You're mad at God. You're mad at the world. You're mad at yourself because you missed signs and you didn't know all the things that you should have known. But how could you have known you should have known those things? Looking back, I see all of the things. Like, Kaylee had bipolar disorder. She had borderline personality disorder. She had major depressive disorder. And we didn't know until she was an adult. And had we treated that sooner, and when I came in the picture, she was 10. And so she saw me in active addiction for 2 years, and she saw her dad in active addiction for longer than that. But she also saw us turn our lives completely around and give it to God. And I think I thought that was enough. I just knew that was enough for them. And so I think my faith at first blinded me to what was going on in my life. And then it kind of woke me up and said, God says, I'm not going to leave you. When you're in your darkest time, I'm not going to leave you. And I thought he was a liar, because you left me and I'm in the hospital praying, and I know I serve a mighty God, and I know he can bring my daughter home with me. But I also know he gives us free will. And I know that he fought so hard for her life, but the devil had a stronger hold. She just couldn't. She had a bed in treatment that Friday. We got that call on a Tuesday. And she had a bed in treatment on a Friday. She had to either test positive or wait for 2 weeks. And so she waited for 2 weeks. And then her bio mom being in active addiction was too much for her to stay sober.
Yeah.
And she called us, and, you know, everything had changed. Her whole plan changed, and she was still planning to go to treatment, but that's not what the plan was. It was immediate treatment, you know, immediately going there. But I think that my faith has carried me and my husband through this in ways that I still don't see completely. I'm a Sunday school teacher, and I am a Sunday school teacher from birth to first grade because I want to build that strong belief and I want to build that foundation. I want them to know that if they ever go into a dark point in their life, they have someone with them and he will pull them through it. And Kaylee knew that, and she prayed all the time. So, I mean, I watched her accept Christ, and I watched her get baptized, and I know where she's at, but I know she's not here with me, and I don't like that.
No,
it doesn't make it better.
Knowing where they are now does not make it better that they're not here.
No.
And, oh, I really lost it with God for a long time. And there's a backstory to that, but it's like, you know, on my hands and knees, thanking him and begging him, you know, thanking him for giving his son, and how much pain it must have caused him to give up his son like that. And then 32 days later, he takes hope. I didn't ask to know how it felt. So it took me and I'm not really all the way there yet. I'm doing better. I am doing better, but
It's always, we're always, and I tell my husband because he's not where I'm at, and that's okay. We're allowed to be mad. I
mhm.
mean, we're allowed to be so mad and
Well,
angry, but what do
the
you
way
do with
I
that
look
anger?
at it, God's got big shoulders.
Yeah,
He knows we're going to be mad, and he can handle it.
yeah, yep,
Yep.
he can. And that's what I tell him, my husband, and he says, well, you know, that's why we started Kaylee's Dad is Mad. It was a platform where you can go and be pissed off at
Oh,
the
I love
world.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can go there. It's just a Facebook group. You can go there, you can be mad, you can vent, you can say whatever is hurting you, and no one's going to judge you because we've built a community that people are there to support you. No one talks badly about anyone on there. Everyone is so supportive, and I absolutely love the community that has gathered. It's our family. We have a
Right.
huge
Right.
family. Now, it's not huge, but you know, it's a lot bigger than 10 people. Um, but like that's all it started as. We're pissed off. We know other people are pissed off. Let's all be pissed off together and then figure out how to get through that. Let's figure out how to work through that.
That's the thing, you know, that sometimes we just need a place to vent. You know, I'm not asking anybody to ever fix me because I can't be fixed. Um, I can't go back. I can't do anything differently. And she's not here, and she's not ever going to be here again. And I have that right to be mad. Kaylee's dad has that right to be mad. You know, we all do, um, because it's such a sad existence to live without your child. And this is the only thing that gets me through, is just throwing myself into doing whatever I possibly can to help, like with the drug epidemic memorial wall and the babies and teens. And it's so heart-wrenching, you know, and I was so alone in the beginning of this journey that that was one of the things that I felt like I wanted to make as my mission, is that I wanted to be able to be somebody's person when they're in the beginnings of this. And these young kids who are losing their babies, it's um, it's so heart wrenching. But when you can um, help them, if all you do is sit and listen, or you do something to participate. And one thing in particular is Leo's Law. Have you heard of that with Jake? And so my friend Susie and I are flying out to Oklahoma next week on the 14th to be there when they sign in Leo's Law. And things like that is just, I think it's so important, and you host community events. You turned Kaylee's birthday into something really special. What was that? Tell us about that.
So her birthday is April 9th. She passed away August 22nd. And so we knew that we wanted to remember her birthday, not her death day. You can't forget the death day. But we want to erase that from our kids' memory. We don't want you to think about the day your sister died, because she had a whole life. And she was such an amazing person. And she taught you so many cool things. And that's what we want you to remember. So let's celebrate her life. And so my son's walking in here. He's 3. But yeah, so yeah. So we wanted to celebrate her birthday by giving back to the community. And so what we do is we hosted sorry, he's got a mask on and he just came. Sorry.
No, bring him over. Let us see him.
It's very distraction. Come here, buddy. Come here, baby. Why? Come here. Hold on. Say hi.
Hi.
Show her your mask.
How are you?
You're such
a mask.
You silly baby. Go watch your movie.
Oh,
He's such a good boy.
What is
That's
his name?
Ace, and that's my daughter Rebecca. It's her son, but we adopted him because when his dad passed away, her sister passed away, her aunt passed away. It led her into an active fentanyl addiction. And she asked us to take him because she knew that it was something that she couldn't do right now. And right, and we know that was a very hard decision for her, and so we tell her we're very proud of you for making the right decision, and you should not feel bad about that, for understanding that he's more important. So yeah, so
That's great.
yeah, we're very proud of her for that. We're trying to help her, but you can't help someone till they're ready, and so we're just here waiting for that call that we're ready, But so we turned Kaylee's birthday into a Your Community Cares event, and we reached out to every agency in our area in Topeka that provides low or no cost services to the community that can help with veterans, unsheltered, food pantries, WIC, to sign up for SNAP benefits, to sign up for Medicaid, to get clothing, whatever the need is, we want you there tabling to provide that to the community. And we want you to do it on a Saturday whenever parents are off work, because they don't have time to take off work to do that. And so in that event, we call it Your Community Cares. And well, it's Kaylee's Your Community Cares. And the first one we had 25 people table. And we passed out cupcakes that I baked 250 cupcakes. I will never do that again. I promise. That was insane. And I don't know why it's ADHD is what it is. I get these grand
Did you did you have that before that happened to Kaylee? Did you have issues like that before? Because I sure have them
yes.
now.
Yeah,
I can
yes.
get nowhere on time. Nowhere.
Every every April in a place that has it's centrally located. It's been in different locations both years. But we want it to where people don't have to ride a bus, or if they do, it's right off the bus route. They can walk to it. It's in a neighborhood that needs the help the most. Um, no one has to take off work because it's from usually noon to 5 or 6.
Hmm.
It's an all-day event. We pass out. We pass out um, Narcan, and we pass out cupcakes, and we give out free food, and we provide all this information to the community when they need it and where they need it the most. So that's kind of, and this year we had 50 people table. So we doubled it. And then this year coming up, I want the next
Great.
year I want to double that.
Yeah. Um, so you said that you got grants for the stations. How did you go about that?
Questions are sorry, my husband's texting from work.
That's
Um, it, the grant that we got was for education, so that we can go out and share like community outreach. We do presentations at schools and at events, and we're getting ready to be at the Opioid and Stimulant Conference in Wichita.
mm,
So that's what our grant was for. The Save a Life stations, we were able to purchase some naloxone out of that grant. Um, a lot of the naloxone gets donated to us. People see what we're doing
yeah.
and they're like, let me help.
Yeah,
And
I just got an email one day about, and so I just wrote to them and said, yeah, I've got the nonprofit, please send me some. So uh, I had them send me one for each member of their board of directors carry in their car, and
yeah,
each one has 2 doses.
yeah,
So
there
yeah,
has to be places in your area.
we started out searching for those grants because that's where I am now.
Yeah.
And the other girls are just like, come on, you need something to do, and I'm not always sure how to direct them, as far as where to start.
I started looking for free naloxone in the community,
Hmm.
um, in my area. And then I just reached out and I asked. All they can do is tell you no. That's how I live my life. All they can do is say no.
That's right.
Um, and so nobody, no, no, no. Okay, sorry. He's all they can do is tell me no. And so I reached out and I asked, like the health department. I asked DECA, and I asked other local nonprofits. And there you go, buddy. Here. I did. Here. Turn around. And then they either told me, you're crazy, lady. This stuff is expensive. Yeah, throw it in the trash. They either told me, you're crazy, lady. This stuff is too much, or they said, you know what? Here, take it, and get out in the community because we're not boots on the ground, and clearly you are. So I suggest just start to call, knock on doors, call, and all they can do is tell you no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my grandma told me that a long time ago. All they can do is tell you
times
no.
be used to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Yep. Well, and if somebody says no, the next person is going to say yes. You're always going to get a no.
Say yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, you've broken so many stigmas around addiction, faith, and harm reduction. And what still needs to change in how people talk about or respond to this epidemic?
This is something that's going to piss a lot of people off. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to.
I piss off people daily.
Yeah, same. I think whenever people are recovering, they recover differently. If you need medication-assisted treatment, who cares? Who cares if you need it for the rest of your life? You're not dead.
Right.
Dead people don't recover.
You're not in active addiction either.
That's the first thing. That is the very first thing. The next thing is within this fentanyl awareness community that we have all built and worked so hard to build. I think that when someone gets so mad over phrases and words,
I don't know how they can say that sorry, I got a thing up here that says inactivity.
we're active.
We're active.
Yeah.
Got a little puzzle piece over there.
We're good. We're here. Yeah. I think that so many people, I've heard a lot of our children are poisoned, and fentanyl is 150% a poison. It is a poison, right. And it is, drugs are poison. But not all of our kids were poisoned. Some of our kids know what they're taking. I don't think that they plan to die. I don't think that they do that at all. But so many people hear the word overdose and it just boils their blood, and I totally get it. But you can't judge how another mom deals with it.
The issue I have is that probably 7 out of 10 times after treatment, they took one pill, didn't know what they were taking, but they weren't an addict. Why do we have to throw that in there?
We don't, because all of their lives matter. And even the person that seems or appears to have absolutely no one, they are all alone in this world, it appears, but they are someone's child.
Yes.
And eventually, if they never find their way back home and they never find their way out of the darkness, someone is hurting because they're no longer here. And so it just makes me so mad in this community that, and the way some people say addict, the way it comes out of their mouth, addict, it's like you're saying the worst thing in the world, and it's hurting you to say that. Well, why is it hurting you to say that? And I know there's so many instances where these people and these children have tried something for the very first time, and that is a very real and true statement. But you are making the parents, not you, but when we say things like that, we are making the parents whose children suffered from addiction feel bad about their child, and maybe they shouldn't stand up and say things because this community doesn't want them. But that's not true. We do.
If anybody experienced the hell that my daughter and I lived through for the 4 full years of her active addiction, I do believe that they would watch what they say, because that is, to watch your child be taken away like that is the worst thing in the world, because you do everything. We did everything we could do, and it still happened. And I like
You're
I said,
made.
I'm sure
It's
that
your
I
fault.
probably pissed a lot of people off, but some people just don't realize, it's like sometimes I wished all she had done was take one pill, as opposed to what the last 4 years of her life was like. It was horrible. Let's not be judgmental. Let's be compassionate. Let's not cast more stigma that is doing nothing but dividing us. The
Yeah,
end of
because
the
it's
day,
not.
the end result is the same. Our children are gone.
And nothing we do or say is going to bring them back.
No.
And so why make one other mom feel alone in this?
Yeah.
Why make her feel like she can't use her voice, because she can and that father can? And like, fentanyl is people's drug of choice. And if you think that these kids don't know that perk 30s are not real pills, if you think that they think that they are real pills. Some of them might, but a lot of them know that they're not. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
them know, and they're still taking them. And
I believe
it's
the very young ones really don't.
I do too.
The young
Yeah.
teens and stuff, I don't think they even have a clue what. They
No.
probably don't even have a clue what a perk or a zone is.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And it's
because
experimental.
there's always that there is always been drugs around. There will always be drugs around. It was safe to experiment. It wasn't smart, but we didn't die. We didn't die. They don't get that opportunity now. They don't get, and not that they should be able to go out and do drugs, but they're going to experiment, whether it's with alcohol or marijuana,
Humans,
things like that.
unfortunately, we are humans, and none of us are perfect. And that's what people do. Is
Yeah,
I did. I
yeah,
didn't really have a reason to. I just thought, oh, well, okay, let's check out the.
yeah, yeah,
Because I grew up in a household that there was nothing. Nothing. I mean, I drink, and well, my mom didn't drink, period, ever in her life. And, Hope didn't grow up that way either. I drank, but I would pour my beer in a glass so she wouldn't know what I was drinking. I mean, I was
yeah.
extremely careful. And so drugs were not in my purview. They were like not in my vocabulary. And I'm like, did I just really not have that talk with her? Did I not warn her? Of course, you go through all that, the guilt, the why, the what ifs, the whatever, but I'm pretty sure I did. I don't think I was just
We
grasping
all
at
do.
straws.
We all do, even when we second guess it. The talk happens in passing usually.
Yeah.
Like my kids know way too much about it now. My 11-year-old twins know how to spot an overdose and how to administer naloxone. My 8-year-old knows.
And heartbreaking all at the same time that they even have to have that knowledge.
Yeah, yeah, And my 8-year-old knows. And when I get a shipment of naloxone, my baby, my 3-year-old says, Narcan! And I'm like, oh God, I hate that this is our life. But I
Yeah.
am so proud that they know, because you didn't know to talk to your kids about fentanyl. Even 10 years ago, you didn't know to talk to your kids about fentanyl.
It
Even
was
5 years
not.
ago, I didn't.
Well, Hope died in 2016.
Hmm.
The only thing I knew about fentanyl back then was that it was a pain medication that they gave you in pieces.
Yeah.
I
Or
didn't
if you
know
were
that it was
terminally
street
ill.
drug.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I had no clue that it was. But it did start busting loose about a year after that. That's
Yeah.
when we started hearing a lot about it.
Yeah.
But prior to 2016, I don't think it was very. I know it was prevalent here, not in this area. And I saw something on the news one day about a town in Ohio that had 28 overdose. Um, I don't think it was deaths. 28 overdoses in a 24-hour period, and what they called that was gray death. That was the name of whatever this drug was, and I think it was a combination of coke, fent, and meth. I think it was that combination. And an officer dusted off the back seat of a car that one of the people had sat in, one of his cruisers, and then he touched his vest and he was gone. I mean, it was that potent. And so that, and I got to thinking, well, gosh, did Hope get something like that? Because she had been 7 months sober. I guess that's why it was such a shock. But, well, moving to legacy and hope, what do you think about Kaylee's legacy? What does it look like now? If she could see everything that you've accomplished in her name, the laws that are changed, the lives that are being saved, what do you think she'd say to you? I can't hear
There we go. Sorry.
you. It's okay.
First of all, I think that she would love that she's the center of attention. Not in this way, but she absolutely loved being all eyes on Kaylee. She loved that. I think that she would love that she's helping people. Her voice is still here. I don't think that she would like that we can't get out of our grief because of what we're doing. Um, I think that that would make her upset, but I think that yeah, I think that she would understand why we're doing it. And I think that she looks down and she's proud and she's like, look at my mom, look at my dad. What was sent to break them, what was sent to throw us back into active addiction and screw our kids' lives up completely. That's what this was meant to do, to destroy. And it didn't. It brought us closer together. It brought us closer to God. It brought us just closer. We were already a tight knit, close family, but this brought us so much closer.
Mm-hmm.
And it opened up things where my kids didn't know I ever did drugs, and no one did. If you didn't live that time with me, you had no clue because you couldn't look at me and tell that I was someone who struggled with addiction.
Right.
I had got up to 365 pounds, and food was my drug of choice after meth. That's after I put the pipe down, I picked up a cheeseburger.
That's great.
But I think that she would be sorry. I have a very dark sense of humor. This is how I live my life
I do
now.
too, God.
But I
It's
think
bad
she
a
would
lot of
just,
times.
yeah, I think that she'd just be happy that we're helping people understand that it doesn't matter where you're at in life or what your struggles are, that you matter to someone and someone's here to help. No matter what you're going through, there's always someone there willing to hear you and help you.
And that's what you would tell people from your heart who are going through this with the grief, who've lost
Yep.
someone. Well, I so admire you for everything that you do. As I said,
Thank you. I admire you. You're doing a lot.
pardon.
I said I admire you. You're doing a lot. I've also wrote a book, but I'm scared to publish it because what if no one wants to read it?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if anybody doesn't want to read it. They
Yeah.
will. They will. But yeah, get up with me about that because
I will.
I have I have a whole network of people, and I think that your voice, her voice, it needs to be heard. But at the same time, I think that all of us can do a lot more of telling their stories because
Yeah.
they're all different. Very few. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. You know, a substance use disorder is exactly that, but everybody's path is different. How they got there is different, and you know what the whole family went through, but it was just me. It wasn't a family affair. Her dad and I have been divorced since she was 4, and he just ditched out, and so I had no one but myself, and I would carry her, I would carry her all over again, and it was hard, it was tough, but I was always there. Now there were times I kicked her out of the house, but I had her bag packed, I had her food, I had her gas money, and I knew where she was going. She was never homeless. I never kicked her out like that. But when I had to take a break, I had to take a break. So, um, but people just don't understand. You know, she was my everything. I mean, it was just me and her for a long time, and um, all of our stories need to be told. But well, and this is what I can say for everybody listening: don't ever think not my child, not my family, not my town, because this epidemic does not discriminate. And I don't care who you are. I think you should carry Narcan. I have walked into a grocery store, and there have been people in the bathroom, you know, OD, and or in the car in a parking lot, and just having that with you, you can save somebody's life and show grace and compassion to people. This is it's a tough time in our society, and no one is out of reach of this epidemic. I mean, just no one is. And it's taken a fantastic generation from us. You know, who knows what any one of these kids that have been taken of us could not have been the next Einstein, or, you know, just, it's just incredibly sad. And especially for us that have to go on without them. But thank you, my friend, for sharing Kaylee's light with us today. I appreciate that.
Thank you for allowing me.
Keep loving loud. Keep fighting smart. and keep carrying hope. And get with me on those
Yes,
stations. Yeah.
I
'Cause
will, definitely.
really, that just, I'm so, I don't know. Do I need another project in my preview?
You do. You have
Do
ADHD. You need
yes.
10. You need 10 more. But we have to figure out how to finish it.
Somebody said something that you don't finish things, do you? And I said, well, eventually,
Yeah. I
maybe
have
not.
laundry in my washer, sad to admit, that has been there for 3 days, and I've started it at least 6 times. Um, and I just keep adding soap. And then I'm like, you know what I could do? I could work on my book. I would rather do that. I would rather go and do something else. I don't want to fold laundry. There's a whole business adventure out there for me.
just, just put it in a
Yes.
pile. I'll pick through it later.
Yeah, that's exactly how my brain works. I'm like, I know there's something, I should be thawing out meat for dinner, but I could also just go and grab something and hang out with my
Or I
kids and
can
craft.
scroll,
Yeah, I'm really bad at that.
find some dancing or dog videos.
Yes. Yes.
We're giving a
Yes.
shout out to TikTok there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. TikTok's our friend.
Thank you so much for sharing, and let's do this again sometime. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
thank
keep up
you.
with your progress because
Thank
it
you. I
means
had a really
a
good
lot.
time.
And I'll let you know, Jake's going to come back on with me at some point over the next, oh gosh, that's just a week. Yeah. Wow, where's the time going?
Snuck up on you.
Yeah, a week from today, we're flying out to Oklahoma, so I'm excited about that. And I want to do a live from there too.
Oh yeah, that would be really
Yeah,
cool.
right. Well, I love you, sister,
Love you too. Thank you.
and we will talk again soon.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Thanks for everybody coming in. Bye bye.